Hi, I'm John Bommarito from Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, a place that if you're a local musician or a podcaster or a DJ, local being Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, Detroit, you should look this place up. It is a cool place to practice and not annoy your neighbors and get out of the garage and get into the studio is one of their little mottos. Check out the website. Just search for Grove Studios and you'll find out what I already know about this place. That it's a super cool place, 24/7 operation. You can be in here anytime you want. Just need the keypad that you pay for, keypad code that you pay for. And I've been happy to be doing the podcast thanks to the encouragement of the people who own this place. I probably wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for them. Special thanks to Rick, who's been very helpful along the way, making even the title screens for the podcast. And without their encouragement, again, this is not happening. So I've been doing this for a year and a half now, and mostly I've done people I've met before. And this time it's a friend of a friend. Jesse Terry is here to join me. Hello, Jesse.
Hello.
Good to finally meet you.
Yeah, great. Great to meet you.
You're in town today. This is not going to air today, but for a show at the Trinity House, a great venue that I've been to a number of times.
Yes. Yeah.
And many of our mutual musical friends have played there, and the other venues that you tend to play around town, like 20 Front Street or 7 Steps Up, those kinds of Michigan venues that are listening room environments.
On the circuit.
Right. So as I was kind of explaining the mutual friend thing, you're like the third person that I know that was a Berkeley school person. Seth Clear has been here, Liz Longley has been here, and you as well.
Great.
So before we get into digging into your career and getting to know a little bit more about you, I think we should start with one of your songs so people can go, oh yeah, I want to stick around for this.
Yeah, sure.
What would you like to start with?
Let's see. Maybe I'll do. As I told you before, I don't have a set list.
I
just have a song list, and we'll just go with the.
Think about what comes to mind as this is the song that catches the people the most. Maybe that's
go with the vibe today.
Yeah,
I'll do a song about. This is like about touring and the painting, the tapestry that you create as you tour and meet folks. Called "Hanging the Stars." "10 nights more, and 10 times to be reborn, and 10 rooms with deadbolt doors. And lately I feel like hiding, but the lights draw me in to paint a canvas all over again, and meet a stranger who knows where I've been. And baby, it feels like flying as we're hanging the stars, hanging the stars. Feels like we're hanging the stars, one by one, hanging the stars. Gotta rest my eyes, don't wanna see double on 95. Don't worry, we're making good time, even if the sky feels infinite and empty. Need some more coffee and gasoline to figure out what it all means, and how we can feel so helpless as we're hanging the stars, hanging the stars. Feels like we're hanging the stars, one by one, hanging the stars. Maybe it's enough if you can change one heart in this world. Maybe it's enough. Maybe it's enough. Hanging the stars, hanging the stars. Feels like we're hanging the stars, one by one, hanging the stars. Feels like we're hanging the stars. Feels like we're hanging the stars, one by one, hanging the stars.
Jesse Terry's my guest today on Acoustic Alternatives, Hanging the Stars, and it's a song that is on which album?
That's on When We Wander,
Which
the
is
latest
not in front of me.
original album.
Which might be
Yeah.
over there in that case.
It's around here somewhere. Yeah, in the case or in the trunk.
In the trunk.
Yeah.
Well, it'll get added to the collection before the day is done, for sure.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah,
So tell
thanks
me a
for
little bit
having
about
me.
young Jesse Terry, the young man. Where did you grow up?
Young Jesse. I grew up in New England. I was born in a little town called Wilton, Connecticut, and and kind of around 12 or 13. One day I just woke up and was very angry. Like it was just like my head exploded, and I got into a lot of trouble at school and got sent away to reform school and all kinds of programs and different things. I was a runaway for a little while. All these things that kind of shaped me as a songwriter, inspired me to be a songwriter, I think.
You seem like such a calm and nice person. That doesn't strike me as the like what would have been you. I don't know how old you are, but 20 years ago, we'll say.
Yeah, 12. I was like 12, 13 is kind of when I started, having to go away and going through different things. It's kind of like a James Taylor origin story as well, which makes me feel better, And but yeah, I mean, also going through those things, you're able to decide. You have to decide which road you want to take and how you want your life to be, And there's a line in my song Stargazer that says, "You are free now to pick your universe," And I feel like it took me I realized that early on, but it took me 20 years to put it into a song.
So before you became, I mean, that could have been hormones, that could have been environment, whatever caused you to become.
It was more my family.
Sure.
It was definitely my upbringing.
Okay.
My parents, I love my parents, but they definitely had things to figure out, when I was younger. And they figured most of it out in my 20s.
And they were both musicians, right?
Yeah, especially they were both musicians. My mom was an artist as well. My dad's still a full-time producer, musician, does tons of things. Another Berkeley guy.
What's your dad's name?
Michael Terry.
Okay. Don't know his work.
Yeah, he's done all kinds of things. I mean, he was an artist. He had #1 hits in Canada as an artist. He had, but he did film scoring, production. He's really a talented guy.
Would you say he encouraged or discouraged you from following that path?
I think at first I was very discouraged because I didn't want to be, I think like a lot of kids, you don't want to be just like your parents, So I went to art school, and I was very, very involved in painting and fine art as a young kid and in my adolescence, and then was going to art school around 18 or 19 when my mom lent me her old 70s Yamaha, and I started because I had an injury. I think I had a broken leg or something, and I started playing this guitar and I started writing songs, and it was just man, this outlet, this expression is even stronger than what painting was for me, And I just left art school and did everything I could to get into Berkeley.
So prior to picking up a guitar, or even you said before we started talking with the recording on, you said you played the drums too.
Yes, yeah.
Did you have hobbies? Did you play baseball with your neighborhood friends? Did you
Yeah.
What kind of stuff did you do that wasn't music?
I love sports. I loved snowboarding. I loved skateboarding. I was a skater kid for most of high school, And I still loved music. My dad would, when I was in high school and stuff, he would create tracks for me to sing over.
Really?
Yeah. So I really liked it. I just didn't realize what kind of an outlet it was, because I don't think, the outlet of singing is one thing, but the outlet of creating something from nothing is a whole other thing, and that will keep me engaged and excited, for the rest of my life.
What were your favorite bands and TV shows in that era of your life? What that also forms, I think, who we are too.
Like high school or
yeah, I mean, it's
earlier.
Years.
Yeah, I love the Beatles, but I loved Led Zeppelin. I loved Hendrix. I loved more later on in high school, Rage Against the Machine and Jane's Addiction, and but I love classical music. I love the Beach Boys. Love Brian Wilson. I feel like there was a lot of things that shaped me.
Well, we're glad that you are shaped.
Yeah.
So besides
still being shaped, but yeah.
Work in progress.
So yeah, absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a work in progress. It is Jesse Terry.
Always.
So guitar and drums. Any other instruments in your canon of things you know how to play?
No, just lots of. I mean, I have lots of 6-string instruments like guitar. I have a guitar kind of banjo with me. I've got my White Falcon and my electric, but I love piano. I just haven't gotten to it yet. you know.
There's time.
Yeah, there's still time.
You're still here.
Mhm.
So at some point, you were, besides singing along to tracks your dad created, you must have started writing your own songs. Do you remember what your first song was about?
Yeah, it was called it was called A Farmer's Plight. I'll never forget
That's pretty
that
deep
title.
for a
You know what I
kid.
mean? It wasn't like, you know, Come Back to Me, Baby, or, you know, I was definitely very, very interested in. I was also at that time when I was learning how to play, I was super into Dar Williams, who I'm opening up for later this year, which is wild, you know. I loved folk music, you know, Cry, 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 and Gorka and Sean Colvin and all these people. I was very, very excited by people that could just go out on the road with a guitar, troubadours, you know, who could just go out with a guitar and captivate an audience, you know, and keep them spellbound. I'm still very, very you know, excited by that notion.
That's a good thing, because that's kind of what you do.
It's kind of what I do, yeah. And it's still, I mean, it's such a great challenge. I forget what the question was.
Now, what inspired the first song?
Oh, yeah.
Here's The Farmer's Plight.
Probably listening to that kind of music, you know, listening to that troubadour music that was so rich in imagery and emotion, and you know, I think the song was probably pretty depressing, but I think the hook was like a farmer's plight is like my own, you know, I'm waiting for the rain to come, you know, something like of that nature. But it was a start that people said, wow, that's your first song. That's not bad, and it's a pretty cool melody and pretty cool, you know, harmony.
Maybe you need to dig it out and put it as a Patreon exclusive. Patreon exclusive. It's coming soon.
Yeah.
Farmer's Plight. All right, so that was your first song. What your most recent song? What was your inspiration for that one?
The most recent song
that you've written.
Wow. So this, I'll tell you, it's real personal, but that's what songs are. It's not. I haven't shared it with anyone yet.
Oh, sorry.
It's called No. It's great. That's what I really open up on podcasts, especially too. I find, especially with people I feel comfortable with. But yeah, it's called Weep No More Warrior, and it's inspired by my wife, who's just a IVF warrior and has been kind of a really fearless in our pursuit to have children. You know, we have a beautiful baby girl now, and hopefully another, you know, coming up. So, but I'm just so grateful to her, because she's such a strong person. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily. She's such a gentle person. So the fact that she is willing to stick these giant needles into her butt, you know, like to help us and to go through that. I mean, much more than that. That's the easy part. The hard part is the roller coaster and having loss and having hope, and then not having hope, and then the financial part of it. So I wrote that song for her.
Aww.
Yeah, and it's one of my favorites.
And you don't know it well enough yet to play.
I don't remember it. I have the lyrics somewhere in my backpack. It's like a challenging one too, but I can't wait to bring these songs out.
Something to look forward to.
Especially when we have like good news, and I can say, hey, this is
a song about my forthcoming
exactly
arrival.
Yes, yeah.
My new arrival is also my new song.
Yes, yeah.
So, also in regards to songwriting, when you listen to music that you don't write, what catches you first? Would it be lyrics or melody or the voice?
Yeah, that's a good question. Gosh, it's hard for me to separate. It's hard for me to separate those ones because, you know, a great lyric to me without melody, without a great melody, sometimes can work, but not really.
Usually you miss it.
Yeah, and vice versa. Like if it's this beautiful melody, but it's the worst lyrics, I can't really get into it, you know, usually.
As a wedding DJ, I've heard lots of songs that have no meaning whatsoever, but I play them all the time.
Right.
People love them. I'm like, this has nothing. I mean, there's no substance to it, but okay, whatever, it's fun.
And some of those songs, I should say, I mean, I'm thinking of like Lionel Richie right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're great songs, you know? So I guess if it had to be one or the other, I would probably, melody can carry something, and a great voice can carry. Like there's people that, you know, you say can sing the phone book, and they can.
Yeah, I have those artists that pretty much everything they put out, I'm going to pay attention to just because it's them, and the voice is going to be amazing. And then I start picking apart, like, okay, that is a great hook, a great melody. And then, oh, wow, that maybe, even though lyrics are very important to me, it might be the third thing I notice, because if I'm not paying attention to the song in the first place, I do a lot of like active and passive listening. Passive is when I'm doing stuff at my desk, and I'm
Sure.
listening to music. And then driving, that's the active, like I'm paying very close attention to what's happening when I'm driving.
Right.
The car is in front of me, but also the
Yes.
music itself. So you spend a lot of time in the car
Yes.
driving from work to work to work, because that's what
Yeah.
you do. You drive and then you play your guitar for a couple of hours.
Like truck drivers.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just figured you probably have a different way of consuming it than most people would, because you spend a lot of time doing it. Unless you listen to podcasts while you're driving. I don't know.
I listen to all kinds. I listen to audiobooks and lots of music and comedy too. Like sometimes like things get so heavy and then I'm just like, oh man, I just need to listen to some silly stuff right now, or phone calls are great. I still like talking on the phone. But I found I'm like one of the last people in like the planet that enjoys talking on the phone. So
I like talking. I'd rather do that than text back and forth. If we're gonna have a conversation
good.
any substance,
Yeah.
let's just talk to each other.
yeah,
'Cause
texting is I hate texting.
you lose the tone.
Yeah.
There's no tone. You sometimes people misinterpret yours. No, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
Can you just talk to me?
Yeah, totally.
Please?
Totally.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
How did you go from being a local talent, which I imagine all musicians kind of start out playing the local circuit, to being a nationally touring artist? What was the step that you took? Like, was there a song that got popular for you that?
No, not at first. I had a writing deal out of college in Nashville, so I wrote on Music Row, and then that company closed in the big recession in 2009, and I had a chance to kind of take stock, and I took a cover gig on a cruise ship where I met my wife, and for 5 months I was out at sea in the South Pacific. It was beautiful, and I was able to book a tour mainly of house concerts just all across America. I lived out of the car with my wife, and we got married first, and then toured, and that's how it happened for me. Like just playing music, just getting better, connecting to people authentically, and then just like. And then along the way, things would happen. I'd have a song on a TV show that would, get me through the year. I'd get into a big festival, or it's still like that.
We probably have pockets of places you've played, but you have to go there first to build an audience, right?
Right, and that's the toughest part because no one comes out if they don't know you. So house concerts help with that.
Because if the host believes in you,
yes, yeah,
come on out. Really, you're going to love this.
Right, you might have 30, 40 people there that you can really try to give a special experience to. Be really prepared for that. Or opening for a big artist can help. Although you don't always get that at every market. So, but yeah, beautiful things just come out of that. Like, I've got a children's book coming out next year on a publisher.
You're ahead of me, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. I mean, but that came from just writing a song about my daughter and just recording it, and I feel like these things just happen.
That's great.
Yeah.
So when you are playing some of these shows where you're most of these people don't know me, but the host does, and that's why they brought me. What song usually catches people?
I don't know.
They don't come up to you after the show.
Well, that song about my daughter, If I Were the Moon, does, like Stargazer does. Stargazer elicits a real wide reaction of some people thinking it's about death, some people thinking it's about God, some people thinking it's about believing in themselves, and I love that. I love the songs that do that, and Noise does that for people. So I definitely have some that I feel like are good and are usually in my set every night.
I believe you virtually just gave an intro to Do Stargazer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Door open, play it.
I could do that, yeah.
If you could. Jesse Terry here on Acoustic Alternatives from Grove Studios in Ypsilanti.
Go on, stargazer, don't ever shield your eyes. Desert your fortress, you don't belong inside. Go on, stargazer, I know it seems so far. Drown out their voices, you're not who they say you are. And I know your time is coming soon, coming soon. And no one can keep you here but you. Go on, stargazer, peer through the cosmic dust, and you belong out there. You weren't born to rust. Go on, stargazer, I know how much it hurts, but you are free now to pick your universe. And I know your time is coming soon, coming soon. And no one can keep you here but you. And no one can keep you here. Go on, stargazer, embrace the brightest light. You must be fearless, but you can't leave tonight.
That's a good one. Jesse, I like that one a lot.
Thank you very much.
On this particular album that I'm holding in my hand, Natural, he is joined by one of his heroes. Star Williams joins him on the version of that song.
Yeah.
And this is actually my starting point. I know it's not your first album, but this is my starting point.
Awesome.
Thanks to Liz Longley singing Mr. Blue Sky with you.
Yeah, that was
like,
fun.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I love a really good, I have a special feature I used to do when I had a radio show, and then I carried it over into my video playlist called Radical Revisions.
Yeah.
And that is a radical revision of Mr. Blue Sky. It's like, it takes you a second to figure out what song it is. Like, oh yeah, I do know this song.
That was fun. I didn't really enjoy that, especially with Liz, which is heavenly.
Yes, pretty much. So if you're looking for a starting point in your Jesse Terry collection, this is where I started. He might have a different starting point for you, but certainly an excellent place to begin. And how did you get to work with Dar? She's so sweet to me whenever I see her. She's always very nice to me.
Yeah, she's so kind. I mean, my producer had played some guitar and pedal steel for her. The producer who made Natural and Stargazer, which we made back to back. Like that's Natural is very stripped down, as you know, and Stargazer was this big string section, Beatles, Jeff Lynne inspired record that I loved making. I loved making both of them, and so Josh just texted Dar, I think, with like a work tape, and asked her and said, no promises, and she just wrote right back and said yes, I'd be happy to, and she was just so kind and so generous. Like, I mean, she kind of replied in a way that was like, people have been so good to me, and I want to keep that. I want to keep that going for the next generation of artists and songwriters. I thought that was so inspiring. I never forget that because, when I get to where I want to go as far as the journey to get, you want to get bigger and bigger and play, reach more people. Like it just reminds me that I always need to remember about that. I can't wait to be in a place where I can help more young, young artists.
Be kind to them along the way because you got it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Karma.
it's just part of the whole circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not everybody follows it, and Dar does.
Yeah. Well, this jumps a little bit to something I'm like going out of order just because it fits in now that I've heard the song.
Yeah.
We talked briefly about the children's book deal. Like that song could be reworked for a children's album. I mean, it's not necessarily like lyrical content.
Stargazer?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a Lullabies album.
It feels like a lullaby. It really does feel like something that would be good on a Lullabies album.
Yeah, I'd love to do that someday.
I might have to just retool some lyrics to make it a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's not that it's inappropriate, but
yeah, totally.
It just has that right
Who
feel
knows
for
that
it.
maybe that's my next children's book.
Children's book into an album of children's songs.
It'd be easier to make the children's books when you have the songs. You have to write the lyrics for the words from the start.
So I guess I'll just stay in there because again, conversation-wise, I had it going in an order, but that's okay. There's no order. We're just talking here.
Yeah.
So we briefly talked about how you and your wife, you met your wife on a cruise ship, and then you started touring the country together after you got married.
Yep. Classic love story.
It's a pretty classic love story. But when you added another job of father to your resume and a mother to her resume as well, how did that impact your career in general?
In a really great way. I mean, Lily came out on the road at like 8 weeks, and my wife was, she's very, very, like, especially because I told you before with the IVF and stuff, like she's super cautious, and she's just, Lily is to both of us is just so, she almost like doesn't feel real, still is like, it's unbelievable. But Jess felt great about bringing Lily out and just she thought it was so important that the family is together as much as possible. And Lily was great. She was at all the shows before COVID. She did, international tours. She's been to New Zealand several times because that's where my wife's from. So it impacted my career in a great way, and then inspired these songs that, just the whole process of becoming a father and a parent, like, inspired so many songs, including the one for her, which led us to getting a book deal. So you just never know. Like, I'll have to be thanking her for that, for the rest of her life,
Tell me a little bit more about the book and the book deal if you can, if you're allowed to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. I just can't show you the cover. Yeah.
I'm not asking.
It's out next year on Schiffer Publishing, a publisher out of Pennsylvania, in like late March. And it was just wonderful. I had a friend who connected me to the publisher, and she loved it. And I mean, it's a real, I know how special experience it is to get a book deal out of the gate. Like, I was fully prepared to self-publish this thing. But it was really a gift to be able to, during such dark, challenging times of the pandemic and all kinds of stuff that I don't need to mention, that we all know about. It was such a gift to, like, talk with this painter who did watercolors for the art, and director on, like, which animal Lily should bring up to the moon, you know what I mean? And different things like that. I love the whole experience, because again, it's creating something out of nothing, and hopefully something really beautiful.
What's the gist of the book, if we didn't already talk about that?
Yeah, like this, I mean, the song is just about wanting to, protect your child and wanting them to believe in themselves and see the world, but also make sure they're always guarded, and not that they're guarded, but that they're taken care of.
Protected.
And protected. Yeah. So that's the theme that runs through the book, which I think is a really good one for kids to have. Yeah.
Your wife's name is Jess?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
What does she do when she's not being a mother? What does she like to do as far as, like, work or?
Yeah. She's a she was a professional photographer and then graphic designer, and then she started working for a marketing agency. So she works remote. They do a lot of wine tastings and stuff like that.
You just need to go places with good internet connection.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay,
Which is sometimes the car, and it's been really cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, your touring has taken you places like Bonnaroo, which is cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Americana Fest. What are some of your highlights of touring? Maybe those too. I don't know.
Those you picked a couple good ones. All the festivals and different people I've been able to play with, and 38 Songwriters Festival is one I've loved, because I've gotten to play there probably 7 times now, and when I'm not playing my set, I get to go hear Brandi Carlile or Jason Isbell or
I'm so sorry.
Or Kim Ritchie, one of what some of and
Yeah.
it's just a wonderful experience. But yeah, I sometimes people ask me about that best gig, and it's hard for me to do that one too, because there's just been so many. I think that the international tours have been really special to me, because I love history, and I love the fact that music takes me to these amazing places to meet people that I never would have met.
How about the tour with your dad? How did that sit into the canon of things you've done? Like, is that really cool or is it difficult?
I'll have to. We should get my dad in here for that one. Yeah, no, I mean, it was very special, for sure. It was very special. I think we're very different. But actually, I should say my dad and I are like very alike, which can be the most frustrating thing in the world. You know what I mean? But he's my best friend, and he's very talented. But he's at a place where he's still working, but he doesn't want to tour anymore, you know, and he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to do that whole grind, and I personally love it. I think it's great. You know, it's great to get home. I can't wait to get home in a few days, but as long as you take care of yourself out here and have a good time, I enjoy the drives. I enjoy hotels, even sometimes cheap hotels, you know.
Not a lot of musicians get to do that, though, tour with their parents. And that, obviously there's more.
Yeah.
There's examples of famous musicians and their kids who have become musicians, like, you know, A.J. Croce's the son of Jim Croce. A.J.'s still out there touring.
Right.
Ben Taylor, I haven't seen much lately, but James's son.
Yeah, I was wondering about him.
Yeah, just examples like that. But for you, he's still actively alive. You know, not that James and Ben couldn't tour together. They certainly could. But a lot of those are like people that we've lost along the way.
Right.
So I would just imagine if you're both in the same field of work, that would be kind of a cool thing.
It is. Yeah, and the harmony was great.
I bet.
Yeah.
In the years I've done studio interviews and radio, and not so much here because we don't have as much space here, the kind of harmony that is always the best is family harmony.
Always.
I love Simon and Garfunkel. That's where harmony really starts for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something about family harmony.
Yeah,
I've tried
absolutely.
to put my finger on it. Like, what is it?
Everly Brothers, and I mean, it's hard. I mean, I love the Cactus Blossoms too.
Yeah, they're good.
Great harmony.
For sure.
Yeah.
If you had an ideal tour, somebody you would go out on the road with, whether it's a co-headlining or getting to open for somebody that you just really admire, what's the ideal, like, oh my God, I couldn't pass this up, no matter what happens.
There's so many that I couldn't pass up, but I love Bonnie Raitt. I think that'd be just
cool.
Amazing. Just seems like such a cool person too. Same thing with Brandi Carlile and Jason Isbell, like people that I really respect as people, and also as musicians.
I hope it happens for you.
Me too.
So your first album came out in 2009. Are we 7?
Yeah.
7 in at this point?
What?
7 records in at this point from 2009?
I think so. Yeah. Well, it depends if you include like the Christmas album and the covers album.
You should.
I think it's 9 then.
You should. Those are albums you've physically released. The covers album, which is the one called Forget Me Nots. And because this is a podcast that we are all pretty uncertain what happens when we put a cover into a podcast. We know that the YouTube video that this will become is probably okay to put a cover into, but the audio-only versions, which are on all the various platforms, pretty sure I can't do that.
Nobody knows. I already paid for those, but only in a certain usage.
Right. So if you want to hear these, he's not going to do any of these today, and I do recommend them for sure. They will pop up on future and have already been on the Acoustic Alternatives YouTube playlist if you're looking for a way to hear some of those in a random way.
Thanks for spinning them, man.
They're definitely very good interpretations. I like how you make them your own. You're writing more material as you walked in and you were setting up. You're like, I've been writing a lot. So when can we expect another album of originals? I know that's a pressure question that everybody probably asks. But.
No, I mean it's such a. I mean, I was talking to my manager about this. Like new songs and great songs are the fuel of this whole career, you know, and more than ever, you know, as a DJ and stuff, like the expectation to get new albums out is just nuts, you know what I mean? But I love it. So I'm hoping that by the end of next year, I can record, you know, and get an album out that I'm really proud of. What would that be? Is it 2024? That sounds so far away.
This is 2022. You're thinking 2 years from now, huh? Well, I
maybe.
guess the whole cycle of how it has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm touring pretty solid like the rest of the year. I mean, I think I haven't counted. Maybe I have 80, 90 shows left. I mean,
that's great.
There's like 50 just overseas. It's a little too much actually this year, but
you're making up for lost time.
Yeah, I'm making up a lot of lost time, and I know next year I'll probably take a few months off to write early in the year because you know songwriting just takes such. It's true. It's 99% perspiration. You know, it's such a craft. It's such a job. There's so much. There's so much magic that goes into it, but you have to be present for it.
I think sometimes as music fans, which obviously I am one, we forget that being a musician is a job. It's your career.
Yeah.
So there's also kind of a business model involved in that.
Yeah.
I know that the world, in the musician world at least, got a pretty good boost when somebody came up with the idea of Patreon, which I know you're on.
Yeah. Yeah.
How has that affected your ability to just go, okay, I'm all right. I don't have to be on the road every day.
Yeah. It's been really helpful. I actually, to be honest, like I went through a good few months where I just wanted to quit. Like, because I started in
Quit Patreon or quit music?
quit Patreon, not music, not music at all. Like Patreon, like didn't feel really right to me, and I don't like the idea that maybe some fans, I don't know if they would feel this way, but maybe would feel second rate because they're not on Patreon. They're not one of the people that are supporting you every month. I didn't like that. I also don't like the fact that those people get a certain content that the others don't. That's what I don't like. But lately I've been getting over it by the fact that, like you said, it is a job and I can't release the new songs to the public yet. So it gives me like an opportunity to release this music.
It's kind of sneak them out a little bit, right?
And get compensated for it. And that feels good to me because I'm working really hard, like at creating the music, and I feel like I'm giving value there. And it's okay if people aren't on that. That's totally okay. But lately, I've been really excited about it because I do feel like I'm giving value. I think the thing that I didn't like about it was just feeling that people were just there to help me, and like that I wasn't like I always gave content, but I had to change the way I thought about it. But it is helping. But I need it to grow, but I also don't want to. I don't talk about it that much, to my fans because I don't want every newsletter to be about that. It's a different thing, and if somebody wants that extra content and wants to give me a little bit of money to hear these new songs I'm working really hard at, then I feel good about that now.
We spend a lot of time on the road. Where is actually home? I hope it's not the car. It's a nice car. I mean,
the new car, the new used car.
Yeah.
It's Stonington, Connecticut, which is just north of Mystic, Connecticut, and very close to Westerly, Rhode Island. It's this really special refuge, just beautiful place to be, beautiful place to create. There's a lot of solitude there, which I really, really enjoyed after many years in Nashville, which to me is like the opposite of solitude. It's wonderful. It's like so much community and so much going on, and there was almost no escape from that, especially if I was touring and then I'd come back and it was just always so busy. So I'm from New England, so it's home.
Yeah, feels like familiar, right?
Yeah.
So songwriting, I know that you've written songs that are personal, and then you write character songs. How do you get into a character? What kind of steps do you take in your mind? Do you like read a news story? Do you watch TV? I mean, where do you get inspiration for a character? It's not you.
All different places. I mean, of course, reading is so important. I always try to find more time to read. I don't read enough. I love reading.
You let people read to you while you're driving. That's the book on tape thing.
Yeah. Which is good. It's good. It's not the same, but it's good. But I feel like with the character writing, like you really have to be able to get inside that character, and it's the same thing. It has to be your truth, even if it's not your story. Mm-hmm. And that's
because you're going to sing it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. So it just can't be any character. And then of course, like the song, at the end of the day, you want to tell your truth, but only so you can connect to someone else's truth, or else the song is worthless, because I don't want it to just be for me.
Yeah. And if people like it, you're going to have to sing it over and over and have to believe it too. So there's that.
Yeah. It only feels really good when you feel like other people are connecting to it.
What kind of song would you like to do next? A personal song or a character song?
That's a good question. Let me look at this.
Your list of potentials?
Let me look at this list.
What can I do solo and acoustic?
Well, I could do, let me drop this D real quick.
Will it hurt when you drop it? Should I pick it up for you?
It might if I can't get it in tune. I guess I'll do a personal song. I feel like most of my songs are personal, but I'm glad. I'm really happy you brought up character songs too, because I love them, and I love the people that do that well, like Tom Waits and Randy Newman and Joni Mitchell and
Good murder ballad, never hurt anybody.
Yeah, so it's that's why writing in this whole pursuit never gets boring, because there's just always so much more to do.
All right, well, what's the story on this song, even if it is a personal story?
This is When We Wander. Since we've been talking so much about my family and touring together with Lily and Jess and stuff, this is the song of a touring family. But of course, this was supposed to be released in March 2020.
Of course it was.
So like we are, or May 2020. So we of course it didn't come out, and then I was like, what are we gonna do? And we wandered into so many different areas, including Patreon, including making albums and all kinds of things, the children's book and stuff. So this really is more than just literal wandering. Nobody knows that glint in your eyes. You leave this home we built in a moment's time and sail away without knowing the wind. For we may never have the chance again. When we wander, don't it feel like we're finally found? When we wander, we always find our way somehow. Someday we may raise a child of our own, and everybody tells you how a flower's supposed to grow. But I love the way you only listen to the stars and chart a course from the rhythm of a heart. When we wander, don't it feel like we're finally found? When we wander, we always find our way somehow. And we've seen things that can't be bought, chose not to be afraid, but everything has its cost. But here I will remain, where the wildest horses run, 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 run. When we wander, don't it feel like we're finally found? When we wander, we always find our way. We always find our way. We always find our way somehow.
When We Wander, the title track from the most recent album of original material from Jesse Terry on Acoustic Alternatives. I'm John Bommarito. Thanks for doing that one. I like that one quite a bit, and I'm glad it was one of the ones you chose to do.
Thanks,
I wasn't going to steer you in any direction.
I know you've given me carte blanche here.
I wanted you to represent yourself the way you wanted to represent yourself, not influence you in any way, shape, or form. So since that is the most recent album of original material, why did you decide to record it live in the studio as opposed to multi-tracking and everybody coming to do your part when you have time? What was the choice?
Good question, man. My producer Nielsen Hubbard is a dear friend. We've made a bunch of records together, and he's made some great records. He's made a bunch for Mary Gauthier recently, and Kim Ritchie and Amy Speece, and I just really trust him. And he just came up to me and he said, "Man, I think you're ready. I think you can do this now." And I really think. And he said, I think you'll really love what it does to the recording, what it does to the feeling, the emotion of the album. And I think he was right. It was one of the most exciting, musical experiences I've had. After, of course, being nervous at the start. But, like, when you're in good hands like that and you can hear everything so perfectly, and the band was just unbelievable. That's
how the Beatles did it, right?
Right. Yeah. They did.
Yeah. Are you singing a Beatles
Lots
song?
of takes, though. I mean, we only did I think Nielsen's also a very he doesn't beat things to death forever. Like, if you don't get it in 4 takes, he kind of says, "Let's come back tomorrow," which hardly ever happens. And the Beatles, I've heard they do take 76.
We weren't there, but there are recordings of those things.
Yeah, which is amazing.
They exist. Well,
yeah.
Pretty amazing. Would you do that again? Would you go back and do another album that same way?
I'd love to. I'd love to do it in both ways again. I mean, there are pros to cons to everything. So when you're doing live recording, you're really prioritizing that emotion and how you'd actually sing it at a live show. But you can't, since you are playing and singing at the same time, you can't record the guitar quite as well. So I'd love to do all kinds of, I think everything works as long as the songs are great and the passion is there, But yes, I would. Yeah.
Well, I'm holding 2 physical CDs. We know that there's vinyl in that case over there.
There is, yeah.
My introduction to the music industry was working in a record store in 1985, and then CDs came along during the time I worked at a record store.
Yeah.
CDs have gone away, kind of.
A little bit.
Vinyl made a resurgence, which I never saw coming.
Yeah.
You have a choice as an artist releasing music. You still choose to release physical media. I thank you for that because I still have a CD player in my car, though it's not working well.
Right.
I know most cars are not putting them in there anymore, but why? What is your reasoning for putting it out on a physical media instead of sticking to a digital-only format, which, to me, if you do, I'm probably going to not ever play it. I just won't remember I have it. That's the problem for me.
Right. Yeah, totally. Well, we still sell them,
It shows,
I think, some, I'm pretty sure some people don't even have CD players to buy them. They want to support, and also they want something signed. So we still sell them, not as much, of course. And yeah, I love the physical album. I love doing liner notes. I love all that stuff, and not everyone's going to buy a record, and also records are just so expensive to make,
Yeah, and buy.
Yeah, and buy. Yeah.
You were saying you have a pretty good vinyl collection in your apartment, but you don't get to crank it up as much as you'd like to feel the warmth. And I get it. I mean, I do understand the difference in the warmth of a turntable versus a CD. The convenience of a CD will always get me.
The what?
The convenience.
Yeah. It's a great format. I hope that it's kind of like vinyl and makes a resurgence.
I have a lot of them, so I hope so as well. Otherwise, I'm sitting on a pile of silver.
Yeah, hold on to them.
I have no choice.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really is it's a great format, as opposed to the cassette that maybe is not quite as good.
My memory of being excited about the arrival was, oh my God, I don't have to listen to the crackle and the pop at the beginning of the record,
right?
Or the middle of the song, and that always annoyed me, as listening in the headphones and hearing that crackle, crackle, crackle. I know there's a charm to it at this point.
There's a thing to that, yeah.
Yeah, but for me it was how many times did I return an album because it sounded like it was all scratched up, and I just bought it.
Right.
I was picky about that even as a kid, so.
Definitely.
But again, it seems like it's a tough choice to make. Griffin House, recent guest on the podcast, his newest album, which I'm in one of the songs, he didn't put out physically. It's his first non-physical released that I know of.
Really?
Like, okay.
I love Griffin.
And
Yeah.
why are we going that way? You guys are still kind of, you guys are in sort of in the same camp. You're playing the same kinds of rooms.
Right.
And to me, it makes sense. I come to you after the show. You have something to sign. It's a calling card. It may not make you a ton of money, but
yeah, in this genre, like, you know, Americana, folk, I still think it makes sense. And now it's a little hard to make like I'm almost out of that natural album. I only have like 10 CDs left, and
I have one. Are you going to repress it?
And you have one, and I mean, but because I spend so much, like that one has a booklet, because I spend so much on the packaging, like, and it doesn't really make sense to order 200 or 500, so it's hard to order 1,000 right now, but and expensive.
There's always,
but I probably will.
There's always the reordering this like slimline version where it's just in a sleeve with artwork, but just like just the cover art and the back art, and you don't have the full. Obviously, I prefer this too. I like you. I like to look at like listening as a kid to my records lying on my bed. I was reading the liner notes and staring at the cover. And that's part of the experience. But at this point, if you're just having them to have them at shows and you still want something for people to buy, then repress it in the thin slide-in sleeve only, I guess.
Yeah, that's what my manager says too. I don't think I can do it, but
I respect that, actually. I respect that you value this as not only music, but it's art.
Yeah, and people pay good money for it, so I'll probably just bite the bullet and and pray they make a resurgence.
Maybe wait. So the album that I've held up a couple times, the Forget Me Nots record, which is a covers album, volumes 1 and 2, originally available first through your Patreon, is available at shows now too.
Yes. Yeah. It's been out for a little while now, and that was a lot of fun too.
I bet.
Another really immersive experience during lockdown where I was able to, I had some fans who funded the recording, and it was just really amazing. And that came from playing all these cover songs at my live streams, so it's really cool how these things happen.
And it's a good variety of, well, the kind of music you've probably listened to your whole life. You got your Joni Mitchell on here, Tom Petty, Crowded House, Coldplay is in there. I mean, it's a good cross section of things.
Gershwin,
of course. I mean, these are all great songs. I was reading a little bit of an article that a Bluegrass Situation spoke to you about your pure 70s Troubadour Gold mixtape.
Oh, right, yeah.
I'm giving you props for putting Elton John's Mona Lisas and Mad Hatters and wondering why you didn't cover it, actually.
Oh, I know. That was on my list.
But you did Goodbye Yellow Brick Road instead, which I like. But if I was picking my favorite Elton song, actually, I think I would go, like, all-time favorite song, it's either Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding, or Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters. So
well, I know. I heard that the other day. I think Maren Morris covered it. Did a really cool job. I think I want to say it was Maren Morris. And I was like, man, that was on my list. I got to make another album or another double album someday.
He also had Kenny Loggins' Danny's song on there, which is another classic for me in my lifetime. Just one I always loved.
On Forget Me Nots?
In the list on the Bluegrass.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Things that were like in your mixtape.
Totally.
And again, I'm wondering, why didn't you do that one?
That fell into, like, I had a very strict, like, no James Taylor, no Kenny Loggins, no, like, Neil Young, like,
because they're too similar.
Yeah, they're too similar, and I just feel like then it becomes more of like it feels like more of a bar gig to me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Than like interpreting, like it was very challenging. I don't know if you're gonna like beat those versions with a similar kind of arrangement. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah,
why cover it if you're doing it the same?
Exactly. Yeah, and I wouldn't want to change a James Taylor. I can't hear James Taylor really in many other ways, like in my head.
It's already perfect.
Yeah.
Over the years, you've also collaborated with somebody who I admire from having worked with Vienna Teng, Alex Wong.
Yeah.
With a collaboration record. Is that something you would do again with Alex? Is he somebody you still keep in touch with?
Yeah, he's a friend. Yeah, I mean, that came from just writing one song, and then we were so passionate about the topic that we turned it into like a theme EP. And it's cool that you brought that up because like I've made a few EPs in my career, and they kind of get they're easier to forget because they're not, you know what I mean, and they don't get the same push and everything.
I agree.
So I love that EP that I did with Alex, and I really need to dig out some of those songs. Yeah,
I imagine those are fun to play. I
yeah,
imagine he's probably pretty great to work with. I got to meet him a couple of times when I interviewed Vienna back in the day.
Yeah, he's so creative.
I really love his production on one of Ari Hest's record as well. So he's got a really nice touch for just being able to like make somebody sound a certain way.
Yeah, he's got a really special like brain when it comes to producing and arranging, I think.
I know you love your producer that you worked with, but who would you like have on a dream team producer list?
Well, I mean, I love what Dave Cobb's doing with so many people, but that's very similar, I feel like, to what Nielsen is doing right now, is just getting great people in a room that really fit the songs and that love each other and love the producer and kind of letting them play, and so I feel like that's very, very similar. I'm trying to think. I love T-Bone Burnett, and I just love I love the rhythms that he gets and like the percussion, the drums, and his stuff always feels very I don't want to say sparse, but he doesn't put too much stuff on it. And one thing I learned from Nielsen too is like the less sounds you have on a track, the bigger each sound is. And I feel like with T-Bone, you hear like that floor tom, and you're just like, oh my god, that's the best sounding floor tom I've ever heard. Next to Alison Krauss and Robert Plant singing, it's just perfect. Yeah.
It'd be an interesting combination, you being produced by him. I mean,
Yeah.
I expected you to say Jeff Lynne, which would be an interesting way to.
Well, that'd be fun. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it would sound like. I'm not sure it would be genuine to your sound because he has a
Right.
stamp.
Yeah, he does it, but I always love those records he makes. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I love Flaming Pie by McCartney that he did. Like, a lot of people don't talk about that album, but I love that, and the Orbison stuff and all the stuff he did. It's got a certain sound, but it always feels good to me,
Well, did you pick up any new skills during the pandemic when you were stuck at home a little bit more? Anything that you were able to
Just the
master?
children's book thing, like that, and recording. I didn't know how to record before the pandemic, and I did all of the recording for a double Christmas album and a double covers album. So that was a big one.
Yeah.
I didn't write during the pandemic because I was so busy recording and surviving, and the live streams were such a huge thing. You
had to learn that.
Learning all the songs. Like every time someone tipped me, I'd learn them a song.
Nice.
Which is a cool way to, I think, kind of give back, and it kept everything really fresh.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's do one more song, and then
Yeah.
I'll let you get on your merry way for the day. What would you like to close with?
Maybe this song Noise. I wrote this a long time ago with a dear friend named Michael Logan.
I like his stuff.
Do you like Mike? Oh,
he's never been
Michael?
here that I know of. I know his stuff because I purchased some of it, but I don't think he's ever made it to Michigan for a show that I know of.
He's great. Such a cool guy too. We've toured like the UK together, and we've been through a lot of stuff together.
Bring him up here.
I'd love to. But we wrote this song like early on, and I still play it almost every night, and it's the only song from that era that I play every night.
I imagine every songwriter has one.
Yeah.
Ones that stick with them.
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Well, I can hear the songbirds singing, or the church bells ringing, 'cause without your sweet voice, all the world is noise. And as I watch the children playing, I can't hear what they're saying, 'cause without your sweet voice, all the world is noise. And if I ever hear your voice again, and maybe on some clear and holy morning, I will close my eyes and take it in. But until then, well, I will watch the lovers dancing, but I won't hear them laughing, 'cause without your sweet voice, all the world is noise. And if I ever hear your voice again, and maybe on some clear and holy morning, I will close my eyes and take it in. But until then, well, I won't hear the rain start its drumming. The streets could all be flooded, but without your sweet voice, all the world is noise. All the world is noise.
That's definitely a keeper.
Oh, thank you.
I mean,
man.
I know already he is because you've been playing it for decades. But yes, beautiful song, and that has staying
much.
power.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time and opening up your heart to stories about yourself and your songs and playing for me.
Yeah, thank you. It's a joy. You know.
It's a joy for me too. That's why I do it. Thanks to Grove Studios, who are excellent hosts of this podcast. Check them out online if you're looking for a place to do a podcast. They've been gracious to me, and I want to definitely tell more people about this space. If you're a musician, DJ, or podcaster, this is a place that you want to look them up and go, yeah, I could do my thing there for sure. Jesse, good luck on the road out there, and I
you.
know our paths will cross again sometime soon.
Thanks so much, John.
My pleasure. Have a great day.